name. Narada Muni Vajai Vina. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Namamani Udita Hoy Bhagata Gita Same. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Ami Adara Barishe Ghana Shavana Yugale Ami Adara Bhakata Jana Sagane Nache Bhoriya Panaiya Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Madhuri Pura Asavo Pashi Mataya Jagat Jane. Kehova Kande Kehova Nache Keho Mate Mane Mane. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Narad Muni Panchavadana Narade Dori Premarasa Ghanaro. Kamalasana Nachie Bola Bolo Bolo Hari Bolo. We'll do it again. One more time on that. It's too nice. Kamalasana Nachie Bolo 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 Hari Bolo. One more time. Kamala sana nachia bole bolo bolo ari bolo. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Sahasra Nana Paramasuke Hari Hari Boli Gai. Nam Prabhave Matilo Vishwa Namarasa Sabe Pai. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Shri Krishna Nam Rasane Spuri Puralo Amara Asha. Shri Rupa Pade Jachie Ha Bhakati Vinoda Dasa. Keep going. When the great soul Narada Muni plays his string Veena, the holy name of Radhika Ramana descends and immediately appears amidst the kirtan of the Lord's devotees. Like a monsoon cloud, the holy name showers pure nectar into their ears. All the devotees, due to great ecstasy, enthusiastically dance to their heart's content. All the inhabitants of the universe become maddened upon entering these intoxicating showers of divine sweetness. Some people cry, some dance, and others become fully intoxicated within their minds. The five-faced Lord Shiva embraces Narada Muni and repeatedly makes loud screams of ecstatic joy, while Lord Brahma dances very ecstatically and exclaims, "All of you chant Hari Bol, Hari Bol." In supreme happiness, the thousand-faced Ananta Shesha sings and calls out, "Hari, Hari." By the influence of the transcendental vibration of that name, the whole universe becomes ecstatically maddened as everyone tastes and relishes the mellows of the holy name. The holy name of Sri Krishna has fulfilled all my desires by thus manifesting on everyone's tongue. Bhaktivinoda, the humble servant of the Lord, therefore prays at the feet of Sri Rupa Goswami that the chanting of Harinam may always continue in this way. Nada Muni Bhajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jaigo Premanande. And now we'll pay our tax. Yesterday we did English, so today we'll chant the Sanskrit to chapter number 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. For all those who are members of Chad, I'm sure you're happy to have a free space. And this takes up at page number 298. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tute kuyatamam pravaksham yanasuyave yana vijnana sahitam yajgatva mokshase shubhad raja vidya raja kuhyam pavitram idamuttamam pratyaksha bhagamam dharmyam susukam kartamavyayam ashadadhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapyamam nivartante mrityu sangsara vartmani maya tatamidang sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavastita nacha matstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishvaram uta brinna cha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha yatakashastito nityam vayu sarvatra gomahan tata sarvani bhutani matstanityupadaraya sarva bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpadau visrajamyaham prakritim swamavashtabhya visrajami punah punaha utagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritir vashad nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate avajananti mam buddha manushim tanumashritam padam bhavam ajannanto mama bhuta maheshwaram mokhasha mokhakarmano moga jnana vichetasaha rakshasima surim chaiva prakritim mohinim shrita mahatmanastu mam partha naivim prakritim ashrita vajantyananya manaso kyatva bhutatim avyayam satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dradavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate jnana yagnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prataktvena vahuda vishvato mukham aham kraturaham yagna sodaham aham aushadam mantroham aham ebagnyam aham agnir aham hutam pitaham asya jagato mata tata pitamaha Vejam pavitram omkaram riksamaya jurevacha gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam surit pravava pralayastanam nidhanam bijam avyayam tapamyaham varsham nigranam utsrajami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachcha humarjuna Trividyamam soma paputa papa Jagnet ishvasvargatim prartayante Te punyamasat sarendra lokam Ishnanti divyan divideva bhogan Te tam bhuktva svargo lokam vishalam Shinye punye martya lokam vishanti Evam trai dharma manu prapanna Gata gata kama kama labante Ananyas chintayanto mam Ye jana paryupasate Tesham nityabdi yuktanam Yogakshemam mahamyaham Yepyanya devata bhakta Yajante shrudayanvita Tepi mameva kaunteya Yajantya vidipurvakam Aham hi sarva yagnanam Bhokta cha prabhureva cha Natu mama bichananti Tatvenataschavanti te Yanti deva vrata devan Pitrin yanti pratirprata Bhutani yanti bhuteja Yanti madhya jinopi mam Patram pushpam palam toyam Yo me bhaktya prayachati Tadaham bhaktyu Krishnami pariyatatmanaha Yat kuroshi yadashnashi Yat juhoshi dadasi yat Yat tapasyasi kaunteya Tat kurushva madarpanam Shubha shubha palerevam Mokshase karma bandhanai Sannyasa yoga yuktatma Vimukto ma upaishyasi Samoham sarva bhuteshu Nami dveshosti na priyaha Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya Mayi te teshu chapyaham Api chet sudaracharo Bhajate mam ananya bhak Sadhureva samantavya Samyak vyavasito hisa Shripram bhavati dharmatma Shashvat shantim negachyati Kaunteya pratijanihi Name bhakta pranashyati Mamhi partha vyapashritya Yepi syu papapyonaya Sriyo vaishastata shudras Tepi yanti param gatim Kim punar brahmana punya Bhaktya rajarshayastata Anityam sukham lokam Imam prapya brajasvavam Manmana bhavamad bhakto Madhyaji mam namaskuru Mami vaishyasya yuktvaivam Atmanam parayanaha Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhade Raja Kuhya Yogo Nama Namamo Jaya Hari Om. It says Vidyayam Yoga Shastra. I think it should be Shastre. No? Yoga Shastre, not Yoga Shastra. Whoever's in charge of making edits to the songbook, please make note somewhere. Thank you. I don't have Shamalangi to call on. And now, Krishna Kund, David, would you pick a verse that you'd like to hear from the 9th chapter? We'll read the translation and the purport for you. Pick a winner. $29? Okay. That's the winning number. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Samuham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyo stina priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Sama means equally disposed, and aham is I, Krishna speaking. Sarvabhuteshu, to all living entities. Na, no one, me, to me, dvesha, hateful, asti, is, na, nor, priya, dear, yea, those who, bhajanti, render transcendental service. To, but, mam, unto me, bhaktya, in devotion, mai, are in me. Te, such persons, teshu, in them, cha, also, api, certainly am I. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendently situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, Mai te, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words ye yata mam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. Now let's see if there's any reflections or questions from the verse and purport. Chukuja.
So, Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my understanding is, so Krishna is within us as a Paramatma, and he sees our desire, and depending on the desire and the service that we offer to him, he then reciprocate based on the service, devotional service that we are offering to him. And also whether our desires are, depending on what sort of desire, whether our desires are like spiritual or like devotional service based, like we want to serve Krishna or his devotee, or whether our desires are material, like I want car, house, bigger house, etc. So I think the material desire depends on our karmic activity, what sort of activity we are performing, but our spiritual desire based on our intentions of how we want to serve Krishna and his devotees. Am I correct?
Yeah. You're correct.
That's all I want to say.
Okay. When there's nothing really material, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanohutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina, Krishna says in 5th chapter that everything, matter is simply spirit covered over. When you engage it in Krishna's service, then it becomes spiritualized. Just like if you put an iron rod in fire and you leave it there, then it becomes fire-like. When we take to Krishna consciousness, as we chanted this morning, yes, Tundra Gopa Matavendra Mahosa Karma, Vandanu Rupa Palabhajana Matanoti, Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chapakti Bhajam, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna's Karmani Nirdahati Kintu cha Bhakti Bhajan, those engaged in Bhakti Bhajan, for them, he's taking away their karma. Padma Purana says, similar thing I quoted just the other day, Aprarabdha palam paptam kutam bijam palon mukam kramaine naiva praliyante Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam, a verse quoted by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar Devotion about how when one takes to devotional service, then the different forms of karma are destroyed. And very helpfully in the verse Tatenu pam susamikshamano bunjan evatma kritam vipakam ridvagvapur viradam namaste jiveta yomukti pade sadaya bhak, in which Brahma says that when the devotee, Brahma describes the attitude of the devotee, that he's always expectant of the Lord's mercy, and he takes whatever material conditions come to him as the Lord's mercy. And he goes on to say this qualifies a person to go back to Godhead. You inherit the kingdom of God, basically it says. And then the first part of the commentary is Sridhar Swami, who says that what's the main business of the son of a rich man? And the answer is to stay alive, because he'll inherit the wealth. And similarly, devotees should stay alive in Krishna consciousness. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments and says, sometimes it appears that devotees, that they've taken to devotional service, still have some karma, because they seem to be getting some kind of reaction. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, no, this is not karma. These are reversals or miseries which are custom designed by Krishna for the devotee so that the devotee will give up the last vestiges of attachment to the material world. And there's a difference, because even after one's karma has been removed by Krishna, there's still, says Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, may be a semblance of desire. Last vestiges. The last vestige, there may be some last vestiges of desire. Like if you ever make papadum and then you leave it too long on the stove and it burns. Maybe you got a phone call or something. And then the next day you can still smell burnt papadum. Maybe toast is a better, I mean, who burns a papadum? But burn a papadum, go to jail. Burnt toast is famous for lingering in the air. There's last vestiges. You can tell there's forensic evidence that someone burnt toast. So similarly, there's some last vestige of material desire. So then Krishna is expert at giving a very particular kind of situation to each devotee so that he or she will then fully surrender. And this is his special mercy. Yes?
Maharaj, what you mentioned here, is that the case for only pure devotees, or a devotee no matter where they are in any stage, that Krishna is designing specific situations for them?
Well, what's your definition of a pure devotee?
Well, if you look at the 9 stages of bhakti, maybe someone at bhava or prema.
What?
Maybe someone at bhava or prema could be defined as a pure devotee here.
Well, name a pure devotee. Name someone that the first person you might think of.
Like Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, Prabhupada, after he took sannyas, he got injured by a cow. Because watch out for the horns. You get close to cows, so they look very peaceful, and they are, but sometimes they swing their head really fast and they can hit you right in the stomach or elsewhere. Prabhupada got hit really hard, and he fell on the footpath, and he says this in a lecture. He said, "What is this, Krishna?" He took vanaprastha, he took sannyas on the direct urging of one of his revered godbrothers, and then he was practically gored by a cow, and he thought, what is this? And he also had worked in a chemical company in which they were manufacturing pharmaceuticals, and he had his own branch. And according to the astrologer, he would become as rich as Birla. And then he lost everything. One of his employees had misbehaved, and it came back to the owner. Then there were other problems, and Prabhupada mentions that Krishna dismantled everything. When you thought of Prabhupada, he's a pure devotee. It seemed as if there were all kinds of waves of disturbance in his life. But Prabhupada took it as these are special mercy of Krishna. But not before he said, Krishna, what is this? So, I mean, if you really look at it existentially, all karma is essentially meant as a way to help reform the soul. It's purifying to suffer. Suffering purifies us. We go through some hellish condition and we come out and we're relieved of the sinful reaction from using it up. Or you can voluntarily give it up by surrendering to Krishna. Anyway, to answer your question, devotees who performed devotional service, for instance, a Jamil, can you say he was a pure devotee? And if you want to read the next, see, this comes out in Krishna's explanation of this question you're asking, because he says in the very next verse, does he not? He says, Api chet sudaracharo bhajate ma mananyabhak sadareva. Here we go, 20, 30. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. And in the next verse, Krishna talks about how that person who perseveres very quickly becomes righteous. Now here's the purport to Shripram Bhavati Dharmatma, which is 31. This should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. By the way, there is no such thing as mischievous. It's impossible. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities either by accident or by intention be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional practices is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation. If one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But there is no such condition. But here, there is no such condition because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee. Two, it is remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. So, if somebody is rightly situated in their determination, Krishna says you should consider them to be a pure devotee because their determination is properly situated. And that he says, therefore, Sri Prambhavati Dharmatma, very quickly they'll become righteous. And the metaphor of a ripe mango and a green mango is sometimes cited because they're both mangoes, just in different stages. Yes?
Hare Krishna. In continuation of this, there's an amazing sentence in the purport. It said, the Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. And that reminded me when we were discussing a couple days back, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. In that purport, Prabhupada says, this is talking about a devotee, his accidental non-devotional activities will diminish and will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. So whatever good karma when we take up to the process of devotional service, whatever good karma or bad karma that comes, should we just understand that it is a will of Krishna, or do we understand that just our karma is burning up? Because I've heard things that, for example, once you take initiation or something like that, then everything is actually just is just coming from Krishna. There's no more bad karma. It's just something for you to learn on the path of devotional service.
Yeah, that's what I just cited with evidence from the 10th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse. And that's exactly what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in relationship to Tattenu Kampam Susamikshamano. That the devotee takes it, whatever comes is a special mercy of the Lord to purify him. Yes, Akshobhyatirtha.
Just a short comment. So the word friend in this translation made me think of a natural phenomena in friendship, which is when love is offered, it is reciprocated. So when we offer our devotion in love, Krishna becomes a friend, or is our friend, is always a friend, but he is sort of someone who has that friendly reciprocation with us immediately. So the definition of a friend becomes a lot more clear. And then when he says, is in me, that friend who offers love to me is in me, I think that part I wasn't very clear about. So that's something, my question is that, what does it really mean, is in me?
This verse describes change of relationship between those who are external, as described in the verse, Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinibeshatasya Shad Apetasya. They're turned away from the Lord, and they're considered to be outside of the Lord's embrace and the energy. For instance, on the opposite side, the Mahatmas are under the umbrella of the Lord's mercy. Mahatmanastumam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. Because they're in bhajanti ananya manaso, because they're engaged in loving Him. So when one changes one's approach to the Lord, in other words, turns towards Him, he'll realize that he's already in the Lord. In fact, that's what Krishna says knowledge is. After tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, look it up. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. And then give us the next verse. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Would you like the microphone back? Translation.
Having obtained having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion, for by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine.
Yeah, so mine means they're in Krishna, and when we're externally, when we're facing externally, we've turned away from, we don't realize our relationship. But when we do turn towards Krishna, we become insiders. And that means we're inside Krishna. We're inside the family again. In Gajendra's prayers, Gajendra remarks that, my Lord, you're never inattentive to me. It's not that when I pray, then that's when you pay attention. He said, you're always paying attention. In fact, we're intimately connected with Krishna, and we're never intimately connected with the material world. Asango khyam purushaha means we never really have a connection here. So when we come to devotional service by choice, Gajendra says, then you're immediately responsive because you're already just waiting. In 1.2.17, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantaksto Bhadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Prabhupada writes in the purport that Krishna wants us to come back to Godhead more than we can desire. he said practically nobody wants to go back to Godhead. But Krishna wants everybody to go back to Godhead and be insiders. So that's in this verse, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu Nami Dveshosti Napriya. That half of the verse refers to those who are externally focused. And for them, Krishna is dutifully sending the checks. He doesn't even put his name on it. It's like some payment, an alimony payment or something, whatever it is, but the person doesn't want to disturb the other person's mind, so they don't even put the name on it. They just make direct deposit. So that, okay, you don't want to know me anymore? So I'll still pay, but I'll just keep it anonymous. You don't even know where the payment's coming from. People don't even realize God's paying them all the time. He's kindly providing, as Prabhupada said, for every living being, is giving all their necessities and more. But everyone just thinks, there is no God. It's like the one fish said to the other, he said, do you believe in water? And she goes, nah. I've never seen any water. I don't know what they're talking about. But we're enveloped by God's love all the time. He's providing. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yovidhati kaman. That's our relationship in the material world, where we just take whatever Krishna gives anamoy when we're in such a primal state that we just eat. There is no other consideration. And then there are stages in which we become more and more aware that Krishna is our best friend. And Prabhupada writes in the Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4, text number 34, in the second to the last paragraph, that every species of life provides a particular appreciating capacity to the soul, according to the body, which is like a venue or a porthole. And when one comes to the human form of life, he has the highest possibility of developing the appreciating capacity. And when one develops an appreciating capacity for Krishna and realizes he's been there all the time, he's always providing for me, then there's this sense of gratitude, and then the gratitude turns to this urge for service. And then it becomes, when well guided, properly guided, then it becomes devotional service. Then bhajanti ananya manaso gyat pabhutitamaviyam. Then there's the intimate realization, the realization of our intimate relationship with Krishna begins when we embrace that relationship that's already there. Does that help? Okay. Gopal.
There was the mention of reversals in life. Sometimes those reversals, it's a challenge to accept as mercy. And even after some years have passed, one may accept it as mercy, but during the time period of going through those reversals, it can be very challenging. I've seen that with some friends and myself personally experienced that.
Is there a question?
The question is, how can one see it as mercy when going through it?
The person who's going through it, how can he see, how can she see that these are coming from Krishna? It's a process. We have to process it through devotional service. Means keep chanting, don't stop chanting. Hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. As I mentioned the other day, Bhagavatam is a panacea. There are plenty of characters you can that you can relate to in the Bhagavatam. If you've ever been jilted, Bhagavatam's your book. Purarava. He's the classic. In fact, when people are lovesick, I say, okay, here's your prescription. Call me in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. In fact, once we were reading the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, and there was a devotee on the break. He was talking to another devotee saying, what was I thinking? Because Bhagavatam helps to assuage those fears we have and also the pain of material connection. And we have to be a little patient because sometimes those lingering, there are lingering mental impressions. But we can be sure that if we go on with the process of devotional service, then as Kapila Dev tells Devahuti, there's a way in which devotional service will act, even if we don't know exactly how it's acting. Of course, we have to do our part. It's not that Krishna's just mechanical. It's a mechanical process, or Krishna's a machine you just buy into. When there's opportunities to be introspective, as Prabhupada said in that purport we just heard the other morning, remember 2.235? Prabhupada said that when you realize that you have free will, you can choose to surrender to Krishna, or you can choose to go back into illusion. So when we choose that we want to surrender to Krishna, those are the opportunities that he'll give us. And over time, what Prabhupada says in the light of the Bhagavad is the either missteps or reversals that we experience in life, they may not be detrimental, but they may become the pillars to success. Because oftentimes it's in trauma and then processing trauma over a long period of time, especially if it's done properly through spiritual guidance. That's what makes us wise. And you can't rush maturity. You got to go through stuff and come out the other side. That's why people who have been around for a little while and haven't been irresponsible with their lives or neglectful in dealing with situations, they see that with time and mercy, all things can be rectified and healed, and also we can see in retrospect that what happened was what really shaped me. It's the crucible. Gold gets purified in these special apparati in which great heat is applied and then the impurities are separated. And nice to have a support system as much as possible. I've been through situations that I'll never forget when devotees showed empathy and didn't just say, oh, you're not your body. Like when my father died, I never knew how I'd react to my parents, even though I knew, Dehinosmin yadahe, hey, go on. I thought, how will I actually deal with it when my parents die? And my father died first. And then I was in Vrindavan, in an apartment in the MVT, came downstairs after I'd received the news late at night, and a couple of God siblings were downstairs, and they said, what happened to you? Like, I looked kind of peaked. And I said, my father died. And Samapriya, Dhruva Maharaj Das's wife, Jewish mother, she just hugged me. Said, oh, she... And then there was it was all going on down at the bottom floor, and there was some Italian brahmachari walking by. Oh, what happened? His father died, and he came over and hugged me You go, oh, your dear father, you know, and he didn't even know who my father was, but he showed empathy. And I felt better. Not completely. I was still in shock, and I went on Parikram, and I said, I'm offering this to my father. And I just dealt with it by going on, chanting my rounds, going on Parikram, said, this is for you, Dad. And, you know, everything can be digested. And that's exactly what I was getting to, the point where Kapiladev says that the subtle body that is the composite of our material experience and so-called karma, it gets digested by devotional service. Just the same way that food gets digested in your stomach, and you really have no idea how it's happening, do you? Because it's happening right now, and you're not even thinking about it. So it's a very practical example. If you take things according to the prescription of the Bhagavad Gita, and you have compassionate devotees who can help you through things, it does help. Even after Kurukshetra battle, you find in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna attended the last rites. He didn't just say, you losers, you know. Sounds like other kind of rhetoric, but there's, you know, a sense of you need to have closure, even on the material side. Somebody died, okay, the wise lament neither for the living and the dead, but, I mean, Bhishma was lamenting, and all the other relatives were lamenting, and Krishna was right there. And he walked them through the last rites. He even helped to perform them. So it's a holistic process, and we need each other, and we need Krishna, and we need the whole, you know, we need to take shelter and go through this lifetime. And when we do, we can put together a whole lifetime of coming back to Krishna as our refuge. Then we can come to the fully mature stage. So you can't rush a preparation in the cooking. Right, Vishnugadha Prabhu? It takes as long as it takes. I've dabbled in cooking. Haven't for a long time, but I used to. And I can remember times when I got impatient and thought, you know, why does it have to take? Why not just turn it up a little bit and do it faster? It's like, you idiot, you know, and it's ruined prep. So we have to be patient, says Rupa Goswami, be patient and determined. And, you know, why was Prabhupada so wise? He'd been through everything. Even when he was young and he got married, and it's like, God, I don't like this wife. Maybe I'll get another one. And his father said, nah, don't do that. Just stick with the one you got. And, I mean, he surrendered to his father and said, okay. And he you know, went through a period when he was overwhelmed with work and family, and he felt on the outside of the institution. And all that, you can hear it in his voice when he talks about these things. He's very open and honest about the material world, and he knows what he's talking about because he's been through it. And Atma pamyena sarvatra samam pashiti Arjuna sukham va yarivadukam sayogi paramomataha. Krishna says the topmost yogi, the parama yogi, is the one who knows that this material world really stings, and knows, because he or she's been through it and processed it in Krishna consciousness, and therefore knows how much it stings everybody else and what it really feels like. And then having come out the other side, having been able to take shelter of Krishna in all circumstances by the mercy of the devotees, then one can be fully mature. And by nature's course, as we get older, there's a lot more clarity, because the passion of the senses the passion of the senses for reproduction is so strong at a certain time in young people's lives, it's practically they're insane. One passes out of that insanity just on a biological level at a certain time. And there are many other favorable conditions that manifest if you just stick with the process throughout your whole life and don't give it up. Is that all right? Vishnu Prabhu. Speaking of sticking with the process throughout your whole life.
Thank you. Just going along with the point you were making, that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, asochan and visochas twang pragyavadangscha basase gatasum agatasumscha nanu sochanti pandita. Doesn't say no, don't lament. It says anusochati, means anu, that prefix means go on, go on lamenting, continuing. So that's a little distinction.
Wow, that's a gem. Thank you. That's a real gem. Nirakula.
I was thinking about what Gopal said, and at times in my life when there's been difficulty, I can intellectually understand that this is Krishna's mercy, but ultimately I just had to tolerate. Take shelter of service, take shelter of my association, and for me to understand that it was Krishna's mercy, it was hindsight. Oh, Krishna's plan was much better than what my plan was, what my desire was, what I thought would be best. But, yeah.
I was in that vein. I remember the Loma Prieta earthquake in California, circa 1989, and a few things fell down, and it was on international news. People thought it was a big deal, and I was thinking, if we didn't have such rigid structures, we wouldn't have barely even noticed it. And in a similar way, the rigidity of our desires for living in a particular way and getting exactly a particular outcome in our lives, when there's a movement and those things get shaken up, it seems a lot worse than it actually is from a broader point of view, because the suffering we undergo has a lot more to do with our expectation, which is the mother of disappointment. And if you can adjust your expectations, which is Krishna does quite handily in the Bhagavad Gita. We discussed this the other day. Categorically, he says, Brahma, Bhuvana, Loka, Punara, like forget about it. You're not going to get anything good out of the material world. It's just going to, it comes apart at the seams all the time. And so it's as far as finding some sort of a safe haven here in the material world, it's not going to happen. So my rigidity in that, my point was, in using that metaphor of the earthquake, is that if we can be more adroit at adjusting our expectations, and the Bhagavad Gita really helps, just to really listen to what Krishna's saying, rather than just say, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. If you really consider, it's a place of misery from top to bottom, where birth and death take place. And if you start from that position, then the changes that happen don't seem so catastrophic if you accept them. And there's so much about equanimity. Krishna talks so much about equanimity in the Bhagavad Gita. How about that? Try to be equipoised and happiness, stress, loss, gain, victory, defeat just stay the same, because, as Nirkula was saying, if you take shelter of your service, as my friend Suridas used to say, your seva will save you. Because after all, what are you going to do the next day after something crummy happens to you? You just get up and do your service and lean into it and just keep going. And all in due course of time, what's down becomes up, and what's up becomes down, and that's just the way the material world goes. But if you can hold on to your service, you're protected by the internal energy, and it's palpable. Sadhu, give Sadhu a mic.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I really like the point that you made of taking shelter in your service, especially if you're going through a hard time. And I was just thinking that this world, the nature of this world is that puts you through a bunch of misery. So it's dukkalayam ashashvatam, and in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it also states that one of the characteristics of pure devotional service is that it removes all material distress. So just taking shelter in your service, especially when you're going in a hard time, can really help.
Yeah. I remember once, it's sort of an odd example, so I apologize in advance, but I got a lot of inspiration. I can't remember, it must have been the 80s. We had an American president named Bill Clinton. I don't know if you've ever remember him. There was some scandal. And, I heard about it. It was everywhere. And I thought, God, he's finished. And the next day, I saw him up there he had already admitted to the scandal and everything, but the next day he was up there giving a talk about something else, doing his work. I think he even got impeached, but he just kept doing his thing. I think, oh, that's how you do it, huh? You just get out there and do your job, and and so anything can happen and will happen. But if you show up and you keep doing your rounds and you keep doing your service, then it's amazing how the material world, the illusory nature of it, starts to manifest, and you see how insubstantial it is anyway. But the real substantial shelter is your devotional service. Okay, last one.
Maharaj, as devotees, we understand this point from the Bhagavad Gita, Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. One thing I remember facing on books is sometimes people think we're pessimists because the Gita says that, the world is a place of misery, and they're like, a pessimist is one who looks at the half glass that's empty instead of the half glass that's full. And their point of view is, why are you focusing on the bad? Like, the world is what it is. Why don't you focus on the good? How do we address that so we don't just seem like pessimistic?
Well, sometimes when you know the limitations of something, you can actually focus on the good more. If you have for instance, if you know, and this is very practical, if you set your priorities, and when I've set my priorities, I go back and visit them regularly and make sure they're all in order. But when I was writing them down, I realized it had to be near the top of my list that be ready for death. Because that's what the Bhagavatam's about. Ante Narayana Smriti. And when that's there, the quality of your life becomes better, not worse. It's not unrealistic. It's very realistic. And when you live in reality, you can deal with things in a more efficient way. And so for people, just in general, there's plenty of books written, and I quoted some of them in the book I just published last year, who talked about ways in which in hospice people who were in hospice care and faced death all the time, they had a deeper sense of what was most important. And similarly, this person wrote a book and talked about how people had regrets that they hadn't done certain things because they hadn't been realistic. And it's not realistic to think you're going to live forever, and you might as well just be Pollyanna about it and don't worry and just be positive. Death is positive if you deal with it properly. It's an exciting transition, actually, because when death comes and you're prepared, just like a big test, when a test comes and you really prepared for it a lot, you don't put your papers away until they say put everything away and pull out a number 2 pencil. That's how you study for a test. I remember I was taking tests a lot, and then there was sometimes I'd think, oh yeah, I got this, and I didn't study to the last minute, and I didn't do as well as I thought. And I said, never again. I'm not putting my notes away until they say put everything away and pick up a number 2 pencil. And so you can see that if you have this sense of death and life's temporary, you'll be more compassionate towards yourself, towards other people, and you'll also have a sense of what's most important to you in life. Like people who at the last minute say, oh, I wished I had been kinder to my family and to my associates. I wish I had spent more time doing important things rather than just trying to amass more fortune or something like that. So reality works. Reality is beautiful and it works. So now let's prepare for having some reflections, because there's more reflections to be had. And the way we'll prepare is have a little song. Does that sound good? Let's get ready for tomorrow, which is fasting till death. No, it's not that bad, just till noon. And it's a Varaha. We're fasting for Varaha tomorrow because tomorrow's Ekadashi, and then Varaha's Parents' Day is the next day. And so now we'll sing the Dasavataram Stotram. A real a crowd pleaser, that's 92. In fact, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavatam, 1st canto, Sutta says, if you remember and recite the names of these avatars in the morning and the evening, then you'll never be unhappy. So let's see if it works. Pralayapayobdi jale dritavanasi vedam vihita vihitra charitam keshavadrita Meena Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Shitiriha Vipulatare Tishta Tava Prishte Dharani Dharana Kina Chak Ragaris Keshavadrita Rira Jai Kurmadev Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Vasati Dashana Shikare Dharani Tavalagna Shashanika Lanka Kaleva Nimagna Keshavadrita Shukara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakamad Bhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubring Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Nishinga Dev Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Chalayasi Vikramane Balimadbhuta Vamana Janita Janapava Keshavadrita Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Kshatriya Rudhira Maye Jagarapagata Papam Snapayasi Payasi Shamita Bhavata Keshavadrita Brigupati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Vitarasi Dikshurane Dikpati Kamaniyam Dasha Mukamauli Balim Ramaniyam Keshavadrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai Hey. Vahasiva Pushi Vishadeva Sanam Jaladabam Halahati Biti Milita Yamunam Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Haladar Get ready for Buddha Dev. Nindasi Yagyavadher Ahaha Shuti Jatam Sadaya Hridaya Darshita Pashugat Keshavadrita Buddha Sharira Jai Jagatisha Hare Jai Buddha Dev Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Mlechani Vahanidane Kalayasi Karavalam Duma Ketumiva Kimapi Karalam Keshavadita Kolki Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Kolki Dev Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Shri Jaya Devaka Verida Mudita Mudaram Shinu Sukadam Shubhadam Bhavasara Keshavadrita Dashvira Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Dev Goswami Ki Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Is that too low? Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Go Premanande, Sharinam Sankirtan ki, Sharinam Mantra ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. And now let's have some time for hearing reflections. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, under the wire. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Can you read that? Mahababa. Is there a Mahababa in the house? Is there a doctor? What? Virabha. Could have been a doctor. Okay, here.
So should I just read the...
Yeah, why don't you just read it?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
2 days back, we ate khaja for dinner. After that, I craved khaja, and anytime I would think to myself, I wish I could eat a khaja right now. Somehow from somewhere, it would appear, and I'd relish the taste with such loving pleasure, understanding that this was Jagannath's mercy. Today at Dandabhanga, as you were relating the story of Gangadas Pandit and how the Lord came to protect him at the right time, you mentioned how Krishna is in our heart and reciprocates with such loving exchange. My eyes welled up as the realization sank in for me. It has been true for me all along, and yet I keep finding ways to believe that Krishna is not a person. Is a person, the most loving person, but not to me because I am not a devotee. It hit home for me as I sat there remembering all those times my heart spoke out a desire and was fulfilled immediately. and has always been true that he is personal and actually has been communicating and showing up for me even on days I have not for him. It really is a blessing to be loved so unconditionally and to be reminded of that blessing. Thank you, Gurudev.
Wow. Jeez. Fantastic. Okay. Manasi Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hi Krishna.
This is from a few days ago when we were distributing books on our way to Gambhira. And I was distributing books and I saw an old street vendor lady. And I was looking at her and she was very emotional during the Harinam. And I went up to her and then first I offered the lollipop. And then when I offered her the sticker, she started crying.
Wow.
And I felt so emotional. I realized that all of us are so fortunate that we are among such elevated souls during our yatra. And I just can't thank you enough for be here with everyone. Thank you so much.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Okay. Bhakta Michael.
So this is back yesterday when we went to Siddhabakul, and sometimes it's always hard to believe that it's one thing to read about a tree that has no wood in it, it's just skin. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And then it's another thing to actually see it with your eyes, like, oh my God, this is where Haridas Thakur would meditate. And Chaitanya was so, kind that he put a toothpick in the tree, and the whole thing came out. So I had a kind devotee was able to give me a chance to put a wish on the tree, and I made it like a nice little spot, and I put it at the top of the tree. And then, thanks to you, we had time to chant, so I had a nice little spot and started banging my head onto the tree, so I never forget this moment. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Raghavacharya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Quote, we are a preaching organization. Lord Chaitanya was born in Mayapur, but preaching started in Puri. This was said by the devotee who was there, Srila Prabhupada's disciple. Yes. Right. So the realization I had was visiting these holy places and hearing about the pastimes. It has a profound effect on our bhakti and it nourishes the soul. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. It's amazing how much we're hearing, and then it's nice to have it back because then you see how each person recorded parts of it, and it helps you realize how much we're getting, actually. Mekhala. Now it better be good.
No, I'll take that, because my first point that I was going to make was that I am very nervous sharing reflections in this group. It's such a spiritually advanced and deep and smart and amazing place and crowd to be a part of that I like oscillate between feeling really comfortable and also feeling like, what the heck am I doing here? Am I, like, do I belong? I think I do, but yeah, so I wanted to share that. And then you mentioned a couple of times, and I haven't been able to write down the chapter verse, but I think you said 11th canto, Krishna says pretty much just to be yourself, so I'm going to do that, which sort of inspired me actually sharing a reflection. And so yesterday when we were doing Sankirtan, we were out doing Sankirtan, and I was thinking about the term you use all the time, keep the transcendental vibration going. And so I tried to kind of bounce between participating and contributing and then also getting really present and observing. And it was fascinating to see the transcendental vibration going. And it's like when you throw a rock in a pond and the ripples sort of extend, right? And you could see that like between the Harinam, like you could see the transcendental vibration going, and it was pretty incredible to watch. And the same thing was happening with the book distribution. And so that brings me to my next point, is we've talked a lot about mercy, and you defined mercy as something, you know, when you have something that others don't, giving it to them. And I feel like I'm getting a lot of mercy being here. Just learning from you and from Guru Ma and from all of the devotees. And I'm so grateful for that. And also, you know, while I was doing the book distribution, I was like, okay, you know, we have instructions. I'm going to do it. Adinath so nicely recapped it in the WhatsApp. And so I like kicked off my shoes and I stood and I gave the lollipop. And then I remember there was a couple of different individuals where we locked eyes and their eyes filled with tears, and it was like this moment that I hadn't experienced before. It was like a really deep, like unexplainable exchange, you know. They were where we just held eye contact, and I gave them the lollipop, and they were just looking at me like so gratefully. And then I gave them the sticker, and they just kept looking at me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. But it was so sweet. You know, it was nothing that I'd ever experienced before where I come from, that like deep, honest connection with someone that I've never met before, someone I've never said a word to either. And I felt like I was getting mercy at that moment also. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Like, here we are. I'm trying to give a book to this individual, and they're giving me something which I didn't expect. So I wanted to share that. And it's funny because I also have a terrible memory, short-term, long-term. So I was like, oh, you know, like, remember, Mekhala, burn this into your brain. And like, I just so wish that, you know, in the pages of this life, we could dog-ear some of them, you know, so that you could go back and like revisit, like, oh, what did Maharaj say that day? Like, what was that conversation that I had? What was that feeling I had with that person when I was distributing books? So I'm trying to say it out loud to sort of dog-ear it in my own way, so that I don't forget those types of moments. And the last thing that I want to say is that yesterday morning I found out that a friend of mine had passed away. And, you know, you mentioned that just now, that one of the goals of life is to prepare for death. And the last message that I had gotten from him was how he wanted to share with me that he had gotten his life together and that he had was getting healthy, taking care of his body. He'd lost a bunch of weight, and he was pursuing spiritual life. And I feel very grateful that he was able to come to that point before he left his body. And so, so, you know, pray for Aaron Walsh, you know, today if you can. And thank you for all the things.
Okay. Let's do a handwriting analysis.
Also was an aspiring doctor. As we meditated on different modes of transportation today, cars, planes, buses, boats, I was reminded of a bhajan of Lochan Das Thakur, where he states, "Our Lord Gauranga has opened a ferry boat across Samsara Sindhu, with Guru as the helmsman and the upraised arms of the Sankirtan devotees as the oars." Lochan Das Thakur ends the bhajan in his humility by stating that only he has been left behind from this ecstatic scene. Two other modes of transportation that I was meditating on to get out of this material world today were Srimati Tulsi Devi and Nityananda Prabhu. When we turned the corner at the bus station, Gopal actually saw a precariously placed Tulsi Devi on top of some pipe. We performed a spontaneous Tulsi Puja Kirtan and even offered water. Only Tulsi Devi is so merciful that she offers transit to the spiritual world at the world's dirtiest transit center. Special shout out to Vishnu Gara Prabhu for having a ecstatic Tulsi Puja as well. Nityananda Prabhu is offering the entire world, whether they like it or not, a chance to get the mercy of Lord Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada was asked how to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. He replied, "How can you escape the mercy of Lord Nityananda?" At Dandabanga, we pray for Lord Nityananda to snap our twig-like anarthas and accept the firm service of Lord Gauranga.
Wow.
Just one anecdote that I had was when this happened at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, and today when we were doing the kirtan party, it's just the culture in Orissa is just so devotionally minded that they immediately when they see the kirtan they pay obeisances, and at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's everybody's paying obeisances, and I was looking at. I was feeling very shy because I didn't want to stop the kirtan. I want to keep the transcendental vibration going, but I want to reciprocate with these devotees, and I just looked at Guruma, and then she was just in such and so happy and ecstatic to see these devotees, and I was just thinking. I just thought to myself, for 1 second, Harai Prandas, do not think that these obeisances are for you. You have been allowed to engage in this service by your spiritual master and by the Vaishnavas. So actually the obeisances are for them. So that was my meditation today.
Shankari Kaur, come on down. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So when we were at Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya house, even today we were talking that how Lord Chaitanya was so mad in ecstatic love of Krishna. And so I was thinking that, in the worldly definition, who is mad? Somebody who doesn't know what to do, when to do, how to do, so on. And then I was thinking that, so are only those people mad who are confined to the asylums or mental hospitals? What about people who are walking on the road? Do they know what they are doing? They are just piling what we call upadhis. And once you were saying that most of us have actually demoted ourselves because we are spiritual beings, but now we just we relate ourselves to the matter. So that is demotion. That's the real demotion that we are facing. So which sane person would demote himself or herself? So who are mad? It's just thinking about that. And we've gotten this opportunity to be in this yatra, in this movement, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, that at least I have been able to recognize how mad I was, and there is a panacea which I can take to cure myself. So thank you for everything.
Chaitanya Priya.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So yesterday, when I was doing book distribution, a man, a man approached me and asked me for a book. He wanted 6 small books, but he was not satisfied. I pulled out my Bhagavad Gita. His eyes lit up by seeing it. He asked for 3 Bhagavad Gitas. We didn't have 3 books. Then he saw Michael Prabhu carrying the Bhagavad Gita. He asked if there was one more Oriya Bhagavad Gita. Roshni came running, and she gave us a Bhagavad Gita, and I gave him a Bhagavad Gita. Thank you.
Something was happening out there yesterday with the Bhagavad Gita. People were going mad for it. It's like 6 books, no thanks. I want the Gita, that one over there. Nicely done, Chaitanya Priya. That was really beautiful. So, thank you, everyone. It's been, it's amazing, like cooking a preparation when we come into the yatra, and the more we hear and chant together. Simple hear and chanting is always necessary. And visiting the holy places and having prasadam together, the preparation gets better and better, doesn't it? Yes. And then you have something invaluable. So thank you everyone for being here. It's not over yet, but I'm just anticipating decamping in a couple days, but then a whole nother realm. It's amazing how many realms there are in the spiritual world, and now after here we're going to Vrindavan, in case you didn't know. So, Shraddha Devi Dasi, please tell us what we've won.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, how do you feel? Nice. So what we have won, for tomorrow we're going to do Harinam on the sea beach.
Haribol!
On our way to Haridas Thakur Samadhi.
Haribol!
And if you find some space, I'm told that they have done some construction. We can sit and do Krishna Katha there. If not, then we'll circumambulate the Samadhi and then go to ISKCON, which is just very close by, and then have Krishna Katha there. That'll bring us to about 1 o'clock, and then we will come back here, have prasadam, and then the evening program as usual starts at 5.
What was the thing you said about construction?
They were saying that they have, Krishna Kund Mataji was telling me they have constructed some extra space at the back. Is she still here? Mataji? Yeah, tell us. Extra space at the back where we can have.
Just next to Advaita Acharya's altar, if we have Haridas Thakur Samadhi at our left, then straight ahead and then right, that hall became much bigger.
Oh, in the back.
Yeah, and it's a nice place.
And they don't mind
just
if we sit back there?
Just a couple of weeks ago, we were having like a katha there with the
That'd be nice.
Yatra.
Okay.
Only thing is that if the timing works, if it's
Right.
not there prasadam time or not there gom time, then it...
Okay. Thank you very much, Krishna Kund Devi. So, good.
At ISKCON, the Aarti starts at 12:30.
ISKCON is what?
The ISKCON temple. The Aarti starts at 12:30 in the afternoon, so we can finish our katha before that and then join the Aarti, probably.
We have options.
Yeah.
And the sea beach, we're going to distribute books along the way?
Yes,
have
and
Harinam?
Jagannatha Prabhu is going to tell us. Yeah.
So yes, yeah. So as usual, the book bags will be ready for tomorrow.
Can barely hear from that mic. That mic needs to come up.
Hello. I think, should I just say it a little bit closer? Okay. Yeah, so book spec will be ready as usual tomorrow. But because of the yesterday's book distribution, where I'm quite happy to report we distributed over 1,000 books.
What? What?
And I would say that's in just 1.5 hours. It was such a transcendental activity going on there. As well as small books, over 1,000 small books, we distributed 60 odd Bhagavad Gitas. So it was quite a big day for us. In terms of our book distribution on all the yatras, that's the maximum we've done in hour and a half. So it's quite a big. So because of that, we are running a little bit low on Oriya and Hindi books. We got plenty of Bangla books. So we will obviously fill up the book bags as best that we can. With
How low are we running on Oriya?
On Oriya, I think we got maybe 300 books, so maybe enough to fill all the book bags and maybe have some spares to hand out.
What about ISKCON? Do they have any book room or anything?
I'm not sure, but we can probably find out if they have something.
Good idea, because there's nothing worse than running out of books. I can't think of anything worse.
I'm sure we
Miss
can.
Prashadam, no problem, but run out of books, that's really a drag. Krishna Kun, do you think they have books over there at ISKCON? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just contact them and see if they can loan us some books if we start getting.
Sure. Well, we'll have a count and then we'll make a decision on that whether we need. So yeah. In terms of Bhagavad Gita as well, Guru Maharaj. So we had a 4 Oriya Bhagavad Gita which came back. So we still have 4 to distribute. I had the thoughts in my head that I was thinking about going back to the police station, and then there's 1 or 2 police officers missed out on Bhagavad Gita. So just bribe them, so maybe next time they can be more courteous with us. I was thinking.
Okay. Tell them we'll give them that last Bhagavad Gita if they'll give us a permanent pass to put our book table in front of the police station every year.
Yeah. I just need your...
Once Prabhupada, when he flew into Chicago airport, it was called O'Hare, he asked the Sankirtan leader there, he said, go ask the director of airports to change the name to Oh Hare Krishna Airport. So he got an appointment and he went there because Prabhupada told him and he asked him. And they said no.